Told you that your morning cup of coffee, the same one you trust to wake you up, could quietly raise your risk of stroke, would you believe me? Every day, millions of older adults sip their brew without realizing that certain types of coffee place more stress on the heart and brain than they provide comfort. And here's the frightening part. The difference between a safe cup and a harmful one isn't always clear. That's why this conversation is so important. Stroke is already the fifth leading cause of death in the U.S., with nearly 800,000 cases each year. Now imagine how many of those might have been prevented if people knew which coffees protect their brain and which ones quietly push blood pressure and cholesterol higher. Before we dig deeper, let me ask, do you drink coffee every day or only once in a while? Drop a 1 in the comments if you can't skip your daily cup, or a 0 if coffee is just an occasional treat. And I promise, we read and respond to every comment, because your story could help someone else avoid a dangerous mistake. If you find this information valuable, join our Tea the Daily Rep community by tapping subscribe. That way you won't miss future videos that could protect not only your health, but also your loved ones. Now let's dive in, because I'm about to reveal 5 types of coffee that can quietly raise your stroke risk, and 5 others that may actually protect your brain and heart. We'll start with a style of coffee many people see as rich and sophisticated, unfiltered coffee like the French press or traditional Turkish brew. It feels bold, almost luxurious. But here's the hidden danger. Without a paper filter, certain natural oils, cafestol and K-wall, remain in the cup. Inside your body, these compounds act like silent saboteurs, raising bad cholesterol and making arteries more vulnerable to plaque buildup. Over time, that kind of pressure can spark a storm in the brain it was never prepared for. I remember Mr. Allen, a retired teacher in his 70s, who adored his French press routine. He thought it was healthy because it felt natural. But years of 3 or 4 cups a day led to troubling changes in his heart health. What felt like a small pleasure had become a hidden risk. With his doctor's guidance, he switched to a safer brewing method, and within months, his checkups began improving. The solution? A simple paper filter. That thin layer traps most of those harmful oils while preserving flavor. It's a tiny change with a life-saving difference. Next comes a trend you've probably seen online: bulletproof coffee. Brewed coffee blended with butter and MCT oil, marketed as a power fuel. At first, it sounds clever. Caffeine plus fat for steady energy. But the truth is, butter and coconut oils are loaded with saturated fat. That means each sip thickens the traffic in your arteries instead of sharpening your brain. Sarah, a 65-year-old grandmother, learned this the hard way. She followed her favorite podcast's advice and drank bulletproof coffee daily. Within a year, her cholesterol climbed higher than ever. She wasn't indulging in desserts or fast food. Her so-called health drink was the culprit. When she switched back to black coffee with a splash of almond milk, her energy returned without the hidden cost. If you love a creamy texture, try oat milk or almond milk instead. They give you that smooth taste without flooding your system with dangerous fats. But the most tempting danger of all might be sweet, creamy coffees, the mochas, caramel lattes, and frappuccinos topped with whipped cream. They taste like dessert in a cup, but beneath the sweetness lurks trouble. Each sip delivers a surge of sugar and fat, sending your blood sugar on a roller coaster and forcing your body to overproduce insulin. Over time, this leads to weight gain, diabetes, and high blood pressure, all major risk factors for stroke. John, a cheerful 62-year-old, treated himself to a large mocha every afternoon. He thought it was harmless until his doctor diagnosed him with type 2 diabetes. He was shocked. He didn't eat candy or cake, so he never suspected his daily coffee was the true culprit. Once he cut back and switched to unsweetened cold brew with a sprinkle of cinnamon, his blood sugar stabilized and his energy returned. For flavor without the risk, try cinnamon, cocoa powder, or vanilla in your black coffee. You'll still get that cozy cafe feeling without the sugar crash. If that sounds risky, the next category can be even worse:
coffee's overloaded with caffeine. Cold brews, double espressos, or canned energy coffees often deliver far more caffeine than your body can safely process in one sitting. Instead of steady energy, you get skyrocketing blood pressure, tightened vessels, and even irregular heartbeats, conditions that create the perfect storm for a stroke. Michael, a 58-year-old truck driver, relied on energy coffees to stay awake during long shifts. He thought it was harmless until he developed pounding headaches and dizziness. His doctor explained the problem wasn't just fatigue, it was caffeine overload straining his cardiovascular system. Once he cut back to a moderate cup in the morning and swapped energy drinks for water, his symptoms disappeared. Remember, moderation matters. 1 or 2 cups a day is generally safe, but flooding your body with caffeine is a gamble your heart and brain can't afford.
I think of Linda, a 70-year-old grandmother who had battled high blood pressure for years. Her doctors had always warned her to limit caffeine, but coffee was her comfort. 3 or 4 cups every day. One morning, her heart began pounding and her vision blurred. That terrifying moment rushed her to the ER. Thankfully, it wasn't a stroke, but her cardiologist gave her a wake-up call. If she wanted to stay safe, she had to cut back drastically. Linda switched to just 1 small morning cup and swapped her afternoon habit for calming herbal tea. Soon, her blood pressure steadied and she felt more in control than she had in years. For anyone living with hypertension, the safest choice is keeping coffee intake very limited, replacing extra cups with decaf or soothing teas. This one adjustment not only spares the heart, but also prevents sudden spikes that could put the brain in harm's way. Now that we've covered the risks, let's move toward the good news, the types of coffee that actually shield your heart and brain. Not every cup is dangerous. In fact, the brewing method itself can make all the difference. When you prepare coffee using a paper filter, like a drip machine, something powerful happens. That thin filter quietly traps the natural oils that drive bad cholesterol higher, leaving behind the rich flavor without the artery-clogging compounds. A tiny step with a huge impact. I recall Mr. Davis, a 67-year-old retired firefighter who had been drinking Turkish coffee for years. His doctor recommended switching to paper-filtered drip coffee. At first, he doubted it could ever taste as good. But after a few weeks, not only did he adjust to the smoother flavor, his cholesterol began to improve. For him, the change wasn't about losing a favorite, it was about gaining peace of mind. If you love coffee but want to protect your health, this is one of the simplest habits to adopt. Brew with a paper filter. Over time, those small decisions add up in powerful ways. Speaking of small choices, the next style of coffee proves that sometimes less truly is more. A single, modest cup of plain black coffee with no sugar or cream can actually be protective. Black coffee is packed with antioxidants, tiny defenders that fight inflammation and improve circulation. Enjoyed in moderation, about 1 cup daily, it can support brain health and keep blood vessels flexible. The trick is balance. Too much caffeine strains the system, but just the right amount works like a steady companion rather than a harmful intruder. I think of Rodert, a 64-year-old former mechanic who once drank coffee non-stop at work. After retiring, he noticed racing heartbeats and poor sleep. His doctor suggested cutting back to a single unsweetened morning cup. At first, he missed the sugar and extra mugs, but within weeks, he slept better, felt calmer, and still enjoyed the ritual he loved. That little change didn't take away his joy, it restored it. If you want flavor without the risks, add a sprinkle of cinnamon or nutmeg instead of sugar. You'll keep the cozy ritual while protecting your body. And here's something many people don't realize. Even decaf can deliver benefits. Some assume removing caffeine strips away coffee's value, but that's not true. Decaf still contains powerful compounds like polyphenols that protect blood vessels and fight inflammation.
For older adults sensitive to caffeine, those dealing with poor sleep, palpitations, or blood pressure spikes, decaf provides the warmth and comfort of coffee without the overstimulation. Take Helen, a 71-year-old retired nurse who cherished her morning cup but struggled with restless nights and a pounding heart. Her doctor advised her to switch to decaf.
At first, Helen worried decaf would taste flat, but after trying a rich dark roast decaf, she was surprised. The flavor was nearly identical to her usual brew. The only difference? Her nights were calmer, her heart no longer raced, and she still enjoyed her cherished morning ritual. Helen often says she feels like she gained back both her coffee and her peace. If you're curious about trying it, look for high-quality decaf made with safe methods such as the Swiss water process. Pair it with breakfast or enjoy it in the evening without the worry of sleepless nights. Decaf proves you don't have to sacrifice comfort for health. And if you think decaf is just a compromise, wait until you hear what dark roast coffee can do for the brain. When beans are roasted longer and darker, something fascinating happens. Heat creates compounds called phenylendanes, which research suggests may help prevent harmful proteins in the brain from clumping together. These proteins, amyloid beta and tau, are linked to Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease. In other words, dark roast doesn't just warm you up, it may quietly guard your brain from age-related decline. I think of James, a 68-year-old retired musician who had always believed light roast was healthier. After discovering the brain benefits of dark roast, he decided to give it a chance. The smoky, richer flavor soon became his favorite. Months later, he noticed his memory felt sharper, and he enjoyed his morning ritual even more, knowing that each cup might be protecting his future. For the best results, choose a high-quality dark roast and brew it simply, without heavy cream or sugar that could undo the positives. Pair it with a balanced meal and let the bold flavor remind you that sometimes the stronger path is also the smarter one. But strength doesn't always mean darker. In fact, our final type of coffee isn't dark at all. It stays light and green, offering support in a very different way. While dark roast helps protect brain health, lighter roasts and even unroasted green coffee beans hold higher levels of chlorogenic acid. This natural antioxidant helps lower blood pressure and balance blood sugar, giving long-term protection for both the heart and brain. The taste is gentler, sometimes slightly tangy, but the health benefits run deep. I remember Margaret, a 66-year-old librarian with borderline high blood pressure. She wasn't ready for medication and wanted a more natural solution. Her doctor suggested adding green coffee extract to her daily routine. Within a few months, her numbers improved and she felt more energetic. Margaret still enjoyed her daily ritual, but felt reassured that her choice was actively supporting her blood vessels and overall health. If you're curious, you don't need to give up your favorite roast. Simply rotate in a lighter roast or try green coffee a few times a week. Many shops now offer these options, making it an easy shift with lasting rewards. And now, let's bring it all together. Coffee isn't just a morning habit. It can either be a hidden risk or a quiet protector, depending on how it's brewed and how much you drink. From unfiltered brews and buttery concoctions that stress the heart, to paper-filtered cups, gentle decaf, and antioxidant-rich light roasts that protect the brain and blood vessels, every choice matters. It's not about giving up what you love. It's about choosing wisely so that every sip adds to your health instead of taking it away. The real lesson is this: lifestyle always outweighs any single food or drink. The way you sleep, move, and manage stress matters even more than whether you prefer dark roast or green coffee. But when small daily rituals can tip the scale toward protection, why not let them? Now I'd love to hear from you. Has coffee ever affected your sleep, blood pressure, or energy in surprising ways? Share your story in the comments below. Your experience might inspire someone else to make a healthier choice. And remember, we read and respond to every comment. If you found this video helpful, give it a like, subscribe to the Daily Rep, and check out our other videos for more practical tips to keep your heart and brain strong. Until next time, take care of yourself, and may your next cup be one that truly supports your health.